Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, Kibana and Elasticsearch, Improving Analytics Through Data Visualization. My name is Jordan Fuger-Burmeister, and I'm the Marketing Manager over at Elire. And before we get going, we do have a few housekeeping items to cover. All attendees have been placed on mute for the duration of the presentation. If you have any questions, please submit them down in the Q&A portal or on the right-hand side in the chat to panelist function. We will save some time at the end of today's presentation to go over those at the end. We do also have a series of poll questions that require your participation. These polls help us gauge the audience that we have here today, as well as future content. A recording will be sent out in the next couple days following the webinar and will be available on elire.com/webinars, as well as on our Elire Inc. YouTube page. Before we get going here, a quick introduction. We are going to go over what is the Elasticstack or ELK, as well as some key advantages, our use cases here for multiple different industries, a short demo that includes treasury settlements, some Elire differentiators, and then again, time for that Q&A at the end. A little bit about Elire before we get going. We have been serving our over 200 clients for the past 15 years. Our key focus is to really be a trusted advisor and provide strategic guidance to our clients, whether that's ERP implementations, treasury services, or business process excellence. I'm really there to help them unlock the potential of their software investments. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our presenters for today. Dayton?
Thanks, Jordan. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dayton Poll, Senior Consultant with Elire's PeopleSoft Cash Management and Treasury practice. My treasury experience is focused on topics of various breadth, including cash management, forecasting, organizational change management, as well as portfolio maintenance. In addition to my treasury background, I've worked to implement large-scale data management and analytics initiatives for leading healthcare systems across the United States. Brandon?
Thanks, Dayton. Hey, everyone. My name is Brandon Benner. I'm a consultant in the Elire Strategic Advisory Services practice with a heavy background in process improvement, which includes dashboard and metric reporting, both in finance and HCM. All right, pass it back to Jordan for a quick poll question.
Awesome. So we're going to start off with, what ERP systems is your organization currently using? We have Workday, Oracle Cloud, PeopleSoft, EBS, Kyriba, SAP, and then other. That could be a homegrown system, Excel, any other system. We'll give everyone about 30 seconds to answer. And we're going to go ahead and close it out here. It looks like an overwhelming majority of you, about 94%, are currently using Oracle PeopleSoft. Back to you, Brandon.
Thanks, Jordan. So what is Kibana and Elasticsearch, or sometimes referred to as the ELK stack or the Elastic stack of search tools? Elasticsearch is an open source search engine that uses indexed JSON files for storage opposed to your traditional relational database, which enables quicker and more efficient referencing of larger data sets. Beats and Logstash are the pipeline of data flowing from third-party applications into the Elasticsearch data warehouse. And Kibana is the data visualization tool that utilizes the Elasticsearch indexes to aggregate large data sets and display key information in a friendly user interface. Here you can quickly and dynamically display your most important data sets to answer business questions or make key decisions. So Kibana offers several key advantages over some of the familiar names in the data analytics marketplace, such as Tableau and Power BI. Elasticsearch is the key component that makes the Elastic Stack stand out against competitors. Since Elasticsearch utilizes an index-driven data warehouse, you are able to quickly deploy new search indexes, as well as scale up the data you are storing. Think of how Google can quickly parse through, an incredible amount of data, and Dayton will kind of give some examples of this coming up. Oh, sorry. Kibana is a free open source platform. So if you already are utilizing Elasticsearch within your organization, you can quickly and cheaply deploy Kibana data visualization to fully tap the benefits of Elasticsearch. And like many other reporting tools, Kibana offers near real-time data. Currently, they're investing more into their product to get that to just about full, complete real-time. And also, if you have Elasticsearch and Kibana, you have access to the full training content library, which includes webinars, blog communities, and traditional training pages. The full Elastic stack has very wide capabilities as far as data intake and can aggregate data from many applications. However, Oracle is beginning to invest heavily in integrating this tool to their products. Currently, Kibana integrations are available on PeopleSoft 9.2, on PeopleTools 8.57 and 5.8. With 5.7, you're going to get just the integration of the visibility into your system network metrics. And then on PeopleTools 8.58, you're going to get more of a fully integrated Kibana dashboard that allows you to put in some data visualizations into your interactive fluid tiles on your PeopleSoft pages and add infolets to your dashboard pages. I'll pass it back to Jordan for another poll question.
Thank you, Brandon. So we have, what type of data are you interested in visualizing with Kibana? We have it broken out kind of into different process areas. So accounts payable, accounts receivable, treasury management, procurement, supply chain, payroll, expenses, project costing, system performance, or other. We have everyone about 30 seconds. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close it out here. Looks like kind of spread across, but we do have some concentrations in payroll and system performance, as well as other. So we'd be interested in hearing from you. If you answered that other question, please feel free to submit to panelists what type of data you're interested in viewing with Kibana.
Great. So now we're going to hop into some really exciting stuff. We're going to cover some of the really dynamic advantages that Elasticsearch and Kibana have to offer. As we go through these, you'll really notice a common theme across all these use cases, and that's centered around what we call the mean time to knowledge reduction, or MTTK. The first one displaying such a reduction by really consolidating information across various platforms. So as we hop into Goldman Sachs as our first use case, we can see that they were able to implement Elasticsearch to combine information from various trade settlement platforms. So this is really kind of centered in that financial space. And as we go through, we'll see some additional implications for things like system performance and payroll as well. So I think we're going to be able to tackle quite a few topics through here. But for Goldman's specific example, it was really driven around the usefulness for executing large-scale trades. So for large-scale trades, those really required that portions of the overall trade be executed across different platforms, whether those platforms consist of things like Goldman Sachs' proprietary dark pool, direct exchange trades, or settlements via third parties. There is, between all those settlement varieties, the need to actually be able to access the overall status of those trades and really aggregate on all the different statuses themselves. So really what Goldman did was they took that aggregate data and they were able to build out a system using Elasticsearch that provided overall status alerts and really gave them a defined workflow that showed the overall progress of a trade. So it really gave them that real-time status update overall instead of from their disparate systems or disparate trading partners. And really those settlements aren't just specific to things like trades anymore. And systems like this have a real impact in settlement processes for things like supplier payments, especially when it comes to things like checks, debt interest expenses, and even now treasury transfers. So a lot of really the core financial settlement processes we've been seeing kind of expanding along this sort of Goldman Sachs example. Not only that, these systems like Goldman Sachs allow for enhanced security controls via immediate alerts to issues or delays. So instead of having to really kind of search for your transfers or drill in to find the overall status, you really have that overall issue or delay status right from the Elasticsearch or Kibana dashboard. It also allows for really unique direct controls over your data feeds for things like APIs and how those feeds really affect your clusters or overall data storage. All that data from those disparate sources can really constitute a large amount of transactional data. And in the next use case, we'll cover some of the interesting cases for data storage scalability. So this is where things start to get pretty interesting in terms of the database scalability itself. With things like PeopleSoft, especially utilizing all the ERP modules, you can generate quite a bit of transactional data like Rabobank did here for their transactional data. Their concern was really centered around data and the size that they wanted to actually consume. Historically, their capabilities only allowed their clients to search their transactions dating back about 16 months, a major limitation for the clients really looking to do research along long-term historical transaction trends and across all their accounts. With Elasticsearch, they expanded their offerings to their clients, allowing those clients to review transactions now dating back 8 years and across 23 billion transactions. So that is quite the change, quite the enhancement that was able to take place in a short amount of time. They're also now adding over 10 million transactions a day. And not only that, but they have the capability to add capacity and scale up to even greater proportions. One of the key examples that I like to use for the scalability is really centered around Paylocity, who actually will work with, generate, and then store 500 to 800 million new logs a day. So really, if Rabobank had to scale up much further, the sky's the limit. And even past Paylocity, we see some individuals working with over 1 billion transactions a day. So that ability to scale really exists not only for the disparate systems, but also for main data stores like Rabobank's. During that process, Kibana actually gives you insight into the overall data processing, memory usage, upload errors, and log performance. So it really makes it easier to identify how your infrastructure is performing, if it's coming under any strain, or if you actually might need to add any additional capacity for processing and storage capabilities. In the next use cases, we'll see a really interesting combination of combining those disparate source aggregations that we talked about with Goldman Sachs and the enhanced storage capabilities that we talked about with Rabobank. Our first example of that combination really centers around Softbanks' implementation of Elasticsearch and Kibana, which they use to enhance its payment monitoring service for commercial and retail clients processing transactions. So Elasticsearch was able to record all of the payment processing information and settlement steps across all sorts of disparate systems to generate a live activity trail that was actively alerting the team to any issues or errors in the settlement process for any of its clients. So this gave them the ability to track issues and resolve errors around that graphic interface that Kibana provides. That Kibana interface allowed the team to drill in and identify what might be causing settlement issues and whether further intervention for things like fraud was needed. So again, we see that mean time to knowledge really being reduced here. No longer is error being presented and then a day comes or 2 days come before the error is really noticed, and then it takes additional time to resolve from there. Errors are popping up in real time, allowing analysts to go in and conduct their investigative research in real time and really deliver results to the clients that are impactful and in a short period of time. And with Kibana's visualization ability, they've also been able to implement newer things like machine learning capabilities that now are actively detecting and alerting the team to potential fraud. So no longer are they just identifying overt settlement errors. They are now identifying potential fraud. So they've been able to take those capabilities a full step further. These extensive capabilities offered by Elasticsearch and Kibana are really further exemplified through Furuno Japan's wider implementation of geospatial data across the globe and across clients. So for those who don't know, Furuno is an electronics company specializing in marine electronics, including radar systems, navigational instruments, sonar technologies like fish finders, and satellite communication services. So really, Furuno was focused on essential operational communications for commercial shipping clients on the sea up until about 10 years ago, when they expanded into sustained connectivity to include other business applications and new communication access for crew communications. So the core thing that had to happen here was they really had to integrate that essential operational communication with their expanded offerings without hurting bandwidth or communication capacity for those essential operational needs. To do this, they used Elasticsearch capabilities to store and transmit data to onshore servers every hour and compile it and aggregate it with millions of rows of transactional data that was actually provided by their satellite partners. So this allowed them to track data usage more quickly and efficiently. Historically, it would take 2 days or more to get data records from the satellite partners upon request. Even then, it contained tens of millions of spreadsheet entries, so definitely not the most efficient way to get data and analyze it. And of course, this made it hard to identify why connections were slow and what data usage issues were being caused by. So they started using Kibana on top of the Elasticsearch data storage to show usage coming from things like firewalls, modems, antennas, and communication equipment on ship. And here we're seeing Elastic Maps, delivered through Kibana, which can determine if there's a data-related issue due to positioning or a problem with any one of the satellite partners per ship on this map here. So because it is map-driven, it makes that ability to view if the issue is based on positioning or satellite provision. It makes it much quicker, much easier to identify. And quite a few issues are actually due to things like positioning. So having a map that displays issues like this in Kibana has been a key advantage for them. And they can now identify and pinpoint performance issues in under an hour. So again, we see that MTTK reduced from over 2 days to just an hour. It also allows them to detect things like malware or virus usage remotely to help eliminate even security issues. So as we move into the review of these use cases, we can see a lot of the key advantages that were delivered across clients. So we started around some of the core financial drivers and settlements, and then solved the scalability that Elasticsearch allows, not only in size, but in terms of capability and capacity to incorporate multiple data sources, storage capabilities, and then of course, data variety. On top of Elasticsearch, we saw that Kibana provides ease of access to really dynamic insights, and it can be quickly deployed on top of Elasticsearch. It really provides the ability to view metrics in a way that's specific to you and usage that's centered around not only your financial data, but of course your core business when you need to analyze that as well. Brandon's going to touch on some of these points in the demo, so I'll go ahead and hand it back over to him.
Thanks, Dayton. Yeah, I want to show a quick demo of bank payments within the Kibana interactive dashboard and how you can quickly view, filter, and add new data infolets to just display some of that key business information. So here's what the typical Kibana dashboard looks like. Obviously, each of those tiles are kind of customizable. You kind of build those out, but you can see there's heat maps, bar charts. We got pie charts that this one's displaying where your payments are originating from and to what vendor bank those payments are ending up in. So you can click and kind of work with these charts in an interactive way where it'll apply that filter at the top. You can quickly get rid of that filter up there. Let's say you want to check out what your most urgent payments are for the pay cycle. just easily click on that, and it's going to display that information. Likewise, on top, you have a bunch of quick filters for your time. So if you want to, just bring your data set down to different time lengths, you can choose an absolute time. Maybe it's first of the year through end of the year, or more of a relative, last 3 months, something like that. But yeah, you can kind of use that as your filters up top. And then if you want to expand on your dashboard, you can create a visualized infolet and add a panel. And you create that and can quickly come find that, search for it, and then add that to your dashboard once that's built. And as you can see, you can kind of play around with the different size and really just customize that dashboard to make it, the most visually pleasing for yourself and anybody else who's going to be accessing it. But that's a quick demo, just kind of a use case, with bank payments. And now I'll kind of wrap things up for Kibana. So the Elk stack overall, it utilizes those 3 main components we talked about. The Elasticsearch, which is the data warehouse, log beats, which is the pipeline for the data flows into that data warehouse. And then Kibana, of course, is the interactive data visualization tool. So now you may be thinking, Kibana looks great. How can we get involved, or what do we, how can Elire help? Elire offers expertise in 3 key areas that enables us to effectively implement this tool. We have a large amount of consulting expertise as a whole that includes a balance of technical and functional resources that have, a wider range of experience across industries and multiple sectors. And also, since we have a diverse consulting group, we understand the underlying business processes and what key information businesses look to utilize to make those decisions to stay ahead of the marketplace competition. And likewise, our consultants have extensive reporting and dashboard building experience across different applications. All right, and I'll pass it back to Jordan for a final poll question before we open up for questions.
Thanks, Brandon. So we're going to go ahead with this last poll. Is your organization considering implementing Elasticsearch or Kibana? Yes, no, or currently in the review process? Give everyone about 20 seconds here, and then we'll get to our Q&A. And just a reminder, while everyone is answering, please submit any questions through either the Q&A portal, which should be at the bottom of your screen, or the chat to panelists on the bottom right. And we're going to go ahead and close this out here. So it looks like most of you are currently reviewing or considering. So hopefully today's presentation was helpful towards making those decisions or giving you an introduction to the tool. With that, we're going to go into the Q&A portion of our webinar here. We do have a couple of questions that have come through so far. So first one would be, can you explain the user experience of Kibana and Elasticsearch?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, overall, it's obviously made to be a easier user interface to work with. You can walk through and kind of build out those different infolets. There's obviously little help, search bars, stuff like that. And Kibana has great tools on their website for quickly just learning more about it or how to use each function of it. But overall, it's not too intense as far as the user interface goes, right? It's going to be kind of easier to use and lots of tools to refer back to.
Excellent, thanks, Brandon. And another one that came in here, how does Kibana compare to Domo?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and take that one. Domo is a pretty interesting data visualization tool, and a lot of them offer at least some of the same capacity in terms of being able to tackle sort of dynamic data visualization opportunities. Really kind of what I see as the key advantage Kibana has, at least in the financials and PeopleSoft space, is that really easy integration over top of PeopleSoft financials or Oracle HCM. really anything driven behind Oracle has pretty easy implementations, just with the availability of those JSON files and Java-driven interface that Oracle's been really focusing on. So while there are some similarities, at least on the functional end and the user experience, there's some technical differences in there that I really see driving the difference between Demo and Kibana.
Thanks, Dayton. So another question here, does Kibana come with pre-built analytics for PeopleSoft HCM?
Yeah, so I can take that one, Brandon, if you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, while there aren't pre-built analytics, something that Elire has been working towards is actually kind of gearing up what we see as best fit for analytics across, PeopleSoft or the Oracle space, and really finding kind of the drivers there. While Kibana itself doesn't have any of those pre-built analytics there, there's so much flexibility that really kind of the dynamic expertise that Brandon had touched on with the experience in building dashboards historically outside of Kibana as well as within, really allows us to kind of get the key metrics that we've seen as essential to HCM and financials and really figure out how to incorporate them into Kibana with a lot of ease.
Thanks, Dayton. And kind of piggybacking off of that, how is Kibana accessed within PeopleSoft?
Yeah, so Kibana is, Elasticsearch is accessed directly within PeopleSoft. So it allows search capability directly within PeopleSoft itself. Kibana, while bolted on, allows two processes, either a direct local host connection, where you're accessing it on the direct server itself, or you can open port 8080, which allows HTTP access, so you can have that external access. So all that analytics, the whole Kibana experience isn't incorporated in PeopleSoft as of yet. We've seen some things come in and more Oracle advancements really being invested in incorporating more. But even without that now, the availability to either local host or remote host gives you so much availability almost directly with PeopleSoft. It's a driving advantage already.
Excellent. And it looks like another comparison. So how does Kibana compare to Power BI?
Yeah, so that's another example of really trying to compare two data visualization tools. And again, we can say the user experience is pretty similar. There's a real ease of access around developing your own metrics. One of the interesting things that I think really differentiates Kibana and newer Power BI is the suggested analytics that Kibana now offers. So when you incorporate new data into your shards and then, of course, your instances, it's actually providing you suggested analytics through Kibana Lens. So that's something that's pretty unique. While Power BI can sort of push you in that direction, I think Kibana really differentiates there.
Excellent. Thanks, Dayton. And we're going to answer one more question. We do have a few more coming through the chat and the Q&A. Any questions that we're not able to get to, we will follow up with individually. So feel free to continue to submit those as we wrap up here. So last question we have is, can formulas be added to Kibana?
Yeah, I know you can add formulas in as far as you can kind of customize your queries, what data is obviously being pulled and kind of, formatting that with using some of the formulas. And I think it is an open source, right? So you can open it up and kind of play with the coding and kind of make those adjustments inside of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to piggyback off of Brandon there, Kibana and Elasticsearch are easily integrated with things like Python libraries and R. So even if the functionality for a pretty advanced algorithm isn't built in, you can import sort of your custom-built algorithms and analytical capabilities from Python libraries or R. So that's a pretty unique thing we see as well.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Well, a couple of items to wrap up here as we are at the bottom of the hour. A recording of today's presentation will be sent out in the next couple of days. It'll be sent out to all who attended, as well as available openly on Elire, the Elire Inc. YouTube channel. A couple of items that will come in that follow-up as well. Dayton is actually currently running a data analytics questionnaire that we're going to be using to build some future white papers. So the link to that would be very interested in those of you looking at Kibana, what you're looking to get out of your data visualization and centralization tool. We do also have our first ever Elire Treasury experience, a 2-day virtual treasury conference that we're going to have open to all in September. That information will be available in the follow-up as well. And also links to our upcoming 4 Elire Learning Lab webinars. Dayton is actually going to be presenting on PeopleSoft, financial and cash liquidity in August as well. As you guys can see, we also have lease accounting, cloud security, and integrating PTF for those of you who are PeopleSoft users, which I know we have quite a few on here today. And last but not least, please make sure to connect with Elire on social media. We're available on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, Elire Inc. across all of those. Thank you again for your time today and have a wonderful rest of your day.